the Passover story. So it's going to actually, we're going to jump around for a whole bunch of different Torah portions because we have some very interesting things to look at. Hi, Merle. And maybe some questions that maybe you hadn't considered before, maybe some questions you did consider before, and it's just a new way to look at it. And for those of you who were with us, what day was it? What day is today? Today is Friday.
Wednesday.
So if you were with us on Wednesday, it's a little bit of a continuation. I'm going to refer to a couple things, but if you weren't, that's okay too, because this can also stand on its own. So why don't we begin with a blessing first for the study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok divrei Torah. That we soak ourselves in Torah. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to share my screen so everyone can see this. Oh, wrong button. Bear with me. Where'd everybody go? There you are. And I'm going to share my screen. There it is. Here we go. Passover. Oh, okay. So, for those of you who were not with us on Wednesday, we talked about the big meta question of, well, how did we even get here in the first place? How did the Israelites even get here in the first place? And we talked about the Joseph story, and we talked about how God set all of these things in motion by creating the famine and saying, this is what's going to happen. And I'm going to be doing this so I can create this group of people, and the famine is going to happen, and Joseph's going to go down, and I'm going to give him all the information. And then the brothers are going to come down to get food because there's no food in Canaan. And then they had a decision to make, right? The decision was, do they move to Egypt or do they stay in the promised land, right? Pharaoh invited them to move down to Egypt. Any family of Joseph's is a family of his. And the question was whether or not they make the choice. And clearly, right, they do make the choice because there was nothing for them in Canaan. It was struck by famine, nothing growing, nothing can live. But they also understood that the famine was only going to last for 5 more years at the time. So they also had multiple choices. Do they leave after 5 years and go back to the promised land? Well, they didn't make that choice because we also studied and showed that after Jacob died, Joseph and his brothers, which was 14 years after, or 17 years after coming. So already 12 years past the end of the famine, or already 14 years past the end of the famine. They go to bury Jacob in the promised land. They say, oh, this is lovely, but they all go back to Egypt because life was a lot better there. And then what happened? This is where we pick up, right? This is the beginning of the Exodus story. That the total number of persons were of Jacob's issue came to 70, Joseph being already in Egypt. Joseph died. All right, so now Joseph dies, and all his brothers and all that generation, everybody who came down to Egypt from the promised land, everybody's dying off. And now it's just like all these Israelites were fertile and prolific. They multiplied and increased very greatly so that the land was filled with them. So they come down there. They were given by Pharaoh the best part of Egypt, the most fertile region in Goshen. So of course, they just took off, multiplied, super prolific. But then what happened? A new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. I don't know who this Joseph guy everybody seemed to be talking about. All I know is that there's all these Israelites living in the suburbs right outside our borders here, and in the burbs. Yeah, the Israelite people are much too numerous for us. Let us deal shrewdly with them so that they may not increase. Otherwise, in the event of war, they may join our enemies in fighting against us and rise from the ground. They're not real Egyptians. They may look like us. They may talk like us, but they're not real Egyptians. Okay, and thus started our time of slavery, right? And it got so bad. Check out what happened. Pharaoh says to the midwives, you know what, midwives? For every Israelite male child that is born, kill it. As soon as that thing is born, to the midwives, kill it, just quickly kill it. And, some of these midwives were like, we can't do this. We fear their God. We know about their God. We fear their God. Shifra and Pua, two famous ones. They decided, you know what? We're not doing it. We're not doing it. We're not killing these kids. And Pharaoh came to them, and Pharaoh's like, hey, I thought I told you to get rid of these kids. And the Shifra and Pua said, oh, you're not even going to believe this, Pharaoh. They don't even need our help. These women are so strong. They're delivering their own babies. They don't need us. And Pharaoh's like, oh, wow, all right. I got to think of something else. And Shifra and Pua are like, phew, we got out of that one. Got out of that one. And then, here we go. There was a new little baby born, a very special baby who was born. Right? Very special. Do we know who that special baby was? Who thinks they know what that special baby was? Who was that special baby that was born? Huh?
We know.
Who is it?
Moshe.
Moses. All right, but take it easy with that. This is very interesting. But yes, it was Moshe. But check this out. Okay, so what happened? Moses' mother was like, what are we going to do with this kid? This kid is beautiful. We need to have him taken care of. I don't want anybody to try and get us. So we're going to stick him in this basket. We're going to put him in the Nile area, and we're going to kind of float him over to where we know Pharaoh's daughter's been hanging out, right? She's bathing and everything like that. And Miriam, Moses' sister, is supposed to watch and be like, all right, you just check it out and make sure that the baby gets to her. And if she picks up the baby, you jump in and it's going to be great. Here's what happens. But this is fascinating. The daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe in the Nile. While her maidens walked along the Nile, she spied the basket among the reeds and sent her slave girl to fetch it. When she opened it, she saw it. It was a child, a boy crying. She took pity on it and said, this must be a Hebrew child. Duh, of course. Then his sister, meaning the baby sister, all right? Notice it doesn't say Moses' sister, it says the baby sister, said to Pharaoh's daughter, oh, she just happens to pop out somewhere. Shall I go and get you a Hebrew nurse to suckle the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter will answer, yeah, that's a great idea. So the girl went and called the child's mother, right? Her mom. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, check this out. Okay, this is the part that's very interesting. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this child and nurse it for me, and I will pay your wages. So the woman took the child and nursed it, right? Doesn't mean that took the child and nursed it right there with Pharaoh or Pharaoh's daughter and living in Pharaoh's daughter's home. No, she took it home. She took the baby back to her house. But this is interesting. When the child grew up, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, who made him her son. Okay, so what's this saying? I'm going to start it so what's this saying?
There we go.
What's this saying?
God handed everything?
It's saying that when Moses was the little baby, he spent however long it's going to take for a child to nurse. And back then, I'm sure it was a few years. Mm-hmm. Natalie, what'd you say? Unmute yourself, Natalie.
More than 2 years. They kept them for maybe 4 years.
Kept it for maybe 3-4 years. So Pharaoh's daughter's not even hanging out with this kid for 3-4 years. For 3-4 years, this baby is turned into a toddler, speaks everything, is creating memories or whatnot with his original family. He's creating a relationship with his sister and his brother and his mother and his father and all these people and everything like that. But, I was thinking about this morning. How far back are my earliest memories? Because I'm wondering, what is Moses' memories? Did Moses have any memories of his little childhood? Because the next word says, and this is very interesting, it's not very clear as to what age this is. Check out what it says. It says, when the child grew up, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, who made him her son. When the child grew up, what does that mean when the child grew up? It just says, it doesn't give an age. We have no idea how old the child was
Interesting.
when the child goes back to live in Pharaoh's house. If the child even knew that he was actually living with his own family, his own parents. We have no idea what the child, and here's the bananas part. You ready for this? This is the bananas part. She named him Moses. Pharaoh's daughter named the baby Moses, explaining, I drew him out of the water. And maybe that's an Egyptian word like moshech, to pull from the water. But maybe it's an Egyptian. I named him Moses, right? Moshe. Kimin hamaim mishtihu, right? I pulled him from the water, but it's like an Egyptian word. So we don't even know what his real name is. We don't even know what Moses' real name is, because this name is an Egyptian name given to him by Pharaoh's daughter. We don't know what his parents called him. We don't know what his siblings called him. Not even later. He just goes by Moshe. Right? And it says
we don't
when he
know
grows
the
up,
name of. Oh, sorry.
yeah, go.
Oh,
Say
it's Jen. We don't know the name of his mother even, right? We
Yochevet.
only know. Oh, it's
Yochevet. Yochevet.
Oh, and then can I just ask a quick question? When
Absolutely, Jen,
Pharaoh's
of course
daughter.
you can.
Oh, thanks. When Pharaoh's daughter, when his mother sees that he's beautiful, what is the word there? Is it beautiful, or what does it literally mean? Or did it's something about him is special? I don't know. My Hebrew isn't that as advanced.
You know what?
as
I
yours.
don't have that part of the text in front of me, but I can look.
No, I don't want to interfere with your
That's not
teaching
interfering,
agenda,
but I
so.
love that question. It's a beautiful question. It's a beautiful question, Jen. We got all these people jumping in. You know what? Let's ask Pnina, because Pnina's coming in. Maybe she's gonna know. We'll jump in. She's coming in. But look at this. It says that they don't even know we don't even know what his real name is. We don't even know what Moses' real name is. We're calling him Moses. That's his Egyptian name, but I guess it's been adopted to be Moshe. That's his name. That's his name. I drew him out of the water. All right, so now check this out. We jump ahead in the book of Exodus. And the Lord continued. This is now Moses has already experienced what he was going to experience. He killed the Egyptian slave, or the Egyptian guard. And the way that the words kind of say is like, he kind of knew that he wasn't Egyptian, that Moses knew he wasn't Egyptian. And he was protecting this Israelite slave, but then there's other Israelite slaves were fighting, and Moses is like, why are you guys fighting with each other? He's like, what business is of yours? You want me to go and tell everybody that you killed that Egyptian guy? And Moses is like, oh man, everybody knows, I got to get out of here. So he takes off, right? And he goes and he lives, he finds Jethro, the Midianite. And he's hanging out with Jethro. Hi, Pnina. He's hanging out with Jethro. And he marries Tzipporah, one of Jethro's daughters, and then he's out. And this is from the burning bush. This is what God was saying to Moses in the burning bush. Okay, and the Lord continued, I have marked well the plight of my people in Egypt, and I have heeded their outcry because their taskmasters. Yes, I am mindful of their suffering. I have come down to rescue them from the Egyptians and to bring them out of the land to a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the region of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites. Now the cry of the Israelites has reached me. Moreover, I have seen how the Egyptians oppress them. Come, therefore, I will send you to Pharaoh and you shall free my people, the Israelites, from Egypt. What is going on here? This is a very interesting point. Check this out. Somebody just kind of paint a picture for us. What's going on here? Pnina, for those of you who are just joining us, we made the executive decision. I made the executive decision to study the Passover story rather than the actual portion of the week, which is bogged down with a lot of details of the building of the tabernacle. Anyway, so what does this sound like? This conversation going back and forth between God and Moses. Go, Sukasa.
It sounds sort of like a covenant.
All right, tell me.
Well,
what do you mean?
He's made an agreement. Well, the Jewish people apparently don't know he's made the agreement, but he's made the agreement with the Hebrews. He's pledged that he's going to do something.
Okay, interesting. So Moses, let's assume Moses, and I think it's a safe assumption, Moses has no idea about his actual history. How all of this came about, how the Israelites are even there, what happened, how did this even happen, how did they become enslaved? He has no clue about the Joseph story. He has no clue about the famine that led them. He has no clue about any of this. So if he has no clue about this, right, how do you think he's feeling about God's words over here? What is he thinking about God? What is he thinking about God? If he has no clue about how, all the circumstances that led to the enslavement, just based on this passage, what can we infer Moses's feeling is about God here?
This is my problem. I'm an Egyptian for all I know.
Oh, all right. Interesting. So let's assume that he knows now he's not an Egyptian. Let's assume he knows he's not an Egyptian. What do you think Moses is like? Wow, God, that's pretty good. Thank you. This is amazing. You're so benevolent. This is amazing. Go, Merle.
I'm thinking that he's wondering, who is this being? I mean, who is God?
Yeah, could be.
And what is trying to get me to do?
Yeah, okay, good. What is God? And that's going to come up a little bit later. Nice. Okay, so it could sound like, wow, this is amazing. These people are going to be saved. My people are going to be saved. I'm going to be helping. This is a really big deal. But their God has heard them. God has heard their screams and their cries, and he comes to save them. But for those of you who were with us on Wednesday, we know better. Go, Miriam.
When Jennifer asked the question, how does it say it in Hebrew? Beautiful. So I spent these minutes going back to Shemot, the very beginning of the book of Shemot, and that's where it's written. And it does not in any way use the word beautiful, or it does not even remark on his beautiful face, which we assumed it does. What it does.
What does it say?
It says this: a man went from the house of Levi, and he took a daughter of Levi. The woman conceived. That was pretty fast. The woman conceived and gave birth to a son. She saw that he was good, and she.
Okay, so what does the Hebrew say?
So he was good.
So the word they use is exactly good, and they translate it in Hebrew, tov. She saw that he was
okay.
And in no way do they remark on what he looked like. It
beautiful.
Says, and she hid him for 3 months. And then
beautiful, perfect.
So he was already 3 months old when she made the basket.
Oh, that's the beginning.
Beautiful.
So
thank you, Miriam.
special.
I appreciate that.
It's
thank you.
In the very
such a Jewish mother. Of course,
thank you, Miriam.
Special.
You're welcome.
Absolutely
She's special. She sees he's special from the start.
That's right, but she doesn't use the word special.
My boy.
Good.
He's going to be
good.
exact.
Good.
Good means a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah, true.
Perfect.
Thank you
All right,
so
thank you.
much.
We're gonna
Thank
keep
you.
going. Tina, you got something to say. Miriam, perfect. Thank you so much for looking that up. See, Jen, look at this. Ask and we shall receive.
Yeah, thank you,
Go,
Miriam.
Pnina,
Try
Thank
to
go.
you
make
all
it
of you.
very quickly.
Yo, whatever. Don't make
so-
that. Bli neder. Bli neder.
Bli
Slicha.
neder. When
Bli
she put
neder.
him in the river and Pharaoh's daughter found him, she knew right away that he was from the children of the Hebrews, because she said,
She
"ותראה
did,
כי
yes.
בילדי העברים הוא." That's
Right.
Nachon.
the maid said it.
And he was crying and in a basket. Sure.
I don't know about crying, but she saw right away that he was
it
from the
says
children of the Hebrews.
but
Apparently he was
Tanakh, it
circumcised.
says he was crying.
Otherwise, how can she tell? You
No,
know?
of course. Yeah.
Okay. So now we have to understand what happened afterwards when he grew up. Egypt was on a verse with Achanaton, a new pharaoh who didn't know Joseph.
I don't know this
And
guy.
this guy, I don't know if you saw the opera, this guy decided that the son is going to be the one God. That was on the verge when the Zarathustra, I'm having such a hard time always pronouncing it, Zarathustra. This was an ancient Persian religion that was the first movement of monotheism. The first time that people heard about the idea that maybe there is only one God. So this Akhenaton made a whole revolution there in Egypt and killed a lot of his own people who didn't want to believe it and follow it. And he declared the son, the one God, and he was a direct son of this son. And so that's the mortal that was declared all of a sudden a God. So the Hebrews are still Hebrews over there. So you have this whole commotion and this whole thing going on even in Egypt itself. And this whole people being confused, Moses wasn't the only one. So seeing how Egypt was already being changes going on, and a lot of Egyptians were dying because they didn't want to follow it. Even the priest, he got rid of a lot of his old priests, this Akhenaton. So I think that this whole thing, especially that Moses was raised by his mom, actually, because she was summoned to nurse him. And it says so in the story. So he went out to see what's going on within his people. That's what the story in the Bible tells us. He already knew he was Hebrew. He went to look and see what's going on with his people. And he saw them slaves, among other slaves. And the two people were fighting. So we know the rest of the story, that he wanted to separate them and they wouldn't. So he finally killed somebody there.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and that was two Hebrews. So in order to understand sometimes what Moses feel, we need to see the historical background of what was going on altogether in Egypt at the time that Moses is about to assume responsibility, running to the desert, coming back to save his people. So the idea of the one God, he wasn't the only one who was confused. So take it from there.
Of course he was confused. He had this kind of cuckoo identity. He's like, well, when I'm with the Egyptians, I'm not Egyptian. When I'm with the Israelites, I'm not Israelite. What am I? What am I? Classic motif here. Okay. I want to just kind of take a look at something that Merle touched on, where she was like, well, who is this? Moses is thinking, who is this person? So one of the things that Moses says, this is an interesting one. And this thing that I'm going to share was also interesting for the way of the translation. Here it says, Moses said to God, when I come to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your father has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? And God said to Moses, and this is so interesting. It doesn't translate what it says. It just puts it in transliteration. It says, Ehyeh asher ehyeh. He continued, thus shall you say to the Israelites, Ehyeh sent me to you. So what does Ehyeh asher ehyeh mean? So Moses says, so what's your name? And God says, my name is, I will be that which I will be. I will be that which I will be. That's my name. Huh? My name is there. You know, look, squirrel. Just trying to confuse Moses. Look at that squirrel run over there. It's just as like saying, Ehyeh asher ehyeh. My name will be what it will be. Don't worry about what my name is. It'll be what it will be. And it's going to be different to a lot of different people. Right? So I just wanted to throw that, which is kind of interesting in the fact that they don't translate that. Right? The translators made the conscious interpretive move to write that part in transliteration, the same kind of way when they write where we don't pronounce Yud He Vav He, that there is no quote unquote correct way to say the name of God, which is Yud He Vav He, which is very interesting. All right, I just wanted to show you that because I thought that was very interesting. But we're going to move on to something because this is about to get a little cuckoo. All right, this is about to get a little cuckoo. Yet I know that. So this is Moses. This is God talking to Moses now. Right, say kind of filling Moses in on the plan that I want you to go and you're going to say, you know, let my people go and all this kind of stuff. Yet I know that the king of Egypt will not let you go only because of a greater might. So I will stretch out my hand and smite Egypt with various wonders, which I will work upon them. After that, he shall let you go. What are the wonders that we're referring to here? The plagues.
The 10
The
plagues.
wonders.
The
The plagues are coming. The plagues. Right? Isn't that what Tattoo said in when he was in Egypt? And he saw all those. Tattoo saw that, right? When all the locusts were coming, he says, the plagues. No? Nobody? Fantasy Island? Seriously?
I
I
understand.
remember it. Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
remember it.
I got the thumbs up from Phyllis. Here we go. Check this out. And the Lord said to Moses, when you return to Egypt, see that you perform before Pharaoh all the marvels that I have put within your power. I, however, will stiffen his heart so that he will not let the people go. So even right here, look at this. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant that Moses is going to go and ask, let my people go. And Pharaoh's going to answer because Pharaoh is already set up to fail. Pharaoh is set up to fail. Maybe Pharaoh's like, yeah, get out of here. Fine. I don't want any more of these frogs. I don't want any more of this. But no, God has hardened Pharaoh's heart so God can show off God's wonder and majesty with all of these marvels to help start to change the belief system of the Israelites. So they no longer look at Pharaoh and his magicians as like, whoa, well, you know, God, check out what these guys can do.
Amen.
God's trying to prove to the Israelite people, really, I'm the one true God, and you need to be, I'm going to use a word very foreshadowingly. I'm going to use a word foreshadowingly. Worship me. All right.
Can I just?
Yeah, Jen, go.
Can I just say this whole Parsha seems like it's a contrast between those who preserve life and see human beings as human beings and those who already have a hard heart. I mean, Pharaoh, I know he gets his heart hardened, but it's pretty hard to view the Jews as sort of property that he can destroy, and right away his daughter is set up against him. She recognizes Moses as a baby, not a Jew who needs to be done away with and all of that.
It was many
She
years
sees him.
later.
Yeah, but Jen, that was a beautiful answer because I'm about to show you something that maybe
Go
you
ahead.
did not
Yeah.
realize before. I love that because it's a perfect segue to what I'm about to share. Check this out. I love that. And that was beautiful. All right. What is that? First, let me just ask, what's the famous line that Moses says to Pharaoh? What's the famous line?
Let my people
Let
go.
my people. Exactly.
Let my people go. But guess what, people? That's not the line.
Oh,
That's only,
sorry.
No. Everyone thinks that's the line, but that's only part of the line. It's actually let my people go, ... Get ready.
Right, that
Yeah.
they
You
may
ready for-
worship. Yeah.
Yes. Then you shall say to Pharaoh, thus says the Lord, Israel. You guys are seeing this? Yeah, you are seeing this. Israel is my firstborn son. I have said to you, let my son or let my people go that he may worship me. Let my people go so they may worship me. Hold on to that. Yet you refuse to let him go. Now I will slay your firstborn. God already knows that that's going to be the 10th plague. We're going to be slaves. So we're going to like give you all these other 9. And then at the end, I'm going to slay all your firstborn. But check this out. You ready? You ready for this? This is the bananas part right here. This is the bananas part. Because the fact that we say worship me, that is interpretation. That is interpretation, because let's look at the Hebrew, right? Vayomer alecha shalach et bni, right? Basically, let my son or my people, because we're saying that, but ve'ya'avduni, ve'ya'avduni. So the way that ya'avduni is being translated is worship me. However, this is the part right here. The word for slave is eved. Eved, okay? The word for slave is eved, like the word avodah. The word for worshiper, you ready for this? The word for worshiper is eved. The word for worshiper and the word for slave is the same word. The word for worshiper and the word for slave is the same word. So it could say, let my people go so they may work for me, so I may enslave them. You go from being an Eved Pharaoh to an Eved Adonai. We translate that as being, you go from being a slave of Pharaoh to a worshiper of God. Now, there is a difference. I personally think there's a difference, right? And I think it lies exactly in what Jen said, this idea of humanity. And to be a slave of Pharaoh, all the work that the Israelites are doing, all the work, all this hard work, right? Whose life does it make better? Whose life does it make better? It makes Pharaoh's life better, right? The Israelites to Pharaoh is no different than a hammer or a shovel or whatever, or a wheelbarrow. What happens when he doesn't look at them as human beings, like Jen said? What happens when your hammer breaks or your shovel doesn't work or your wheelbarrow doesn't work? You get rid of it and you get a new one. What happens when your Israelite doesn't work or breaks down? You get rid of them, you get a new one. But what does it mean to worship God? If we're going to say to worship God is also now to follow the rules that are going to be given to us, that they don't know that yet, but it's going to be given to us in 49 days. Who are these rules? Whose rules are these? Let me try that again. These rules as given by God, whose life are they supposed to make better?
Ours.
Yes, it's supposed to make the Israelites' life better. Well, God doesn't need all of these rules to be followed for God's life to be better. They're there for the people, right? So they know how to live together as human beings, to treat each other, live with each other, move forward together, create community, to start setting the stage for what they're going to get to in their promised land as a full people, right? So Jen, I think what you said was right, was right on with that.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. All right, so now this is interesting. So God says, you shall repeat all that I command you, and your brother Aaron shall speak to Pharaoh to let the Israelites depart from his land, but I will harden Pharaoh's heart that I may multiply my signs and marvels in the land of Egypt. So Moses has no idea that God has set this up right from the beginning. And when God's talking to Moses from the burning bush, Moses sounds like this, or God sounds like this. Oh my goodness, I heard my people, these poor people, they're like enslaved and I got to go help them and you're going to help me, Moses. When the backstory, when Moses doesn't know, the backstory is God set it up the whole time. How did they get down there? Because God made the famine. God said there's going to be this famine and all you guys are going to go down to Egypt. It says, Jacob, don't worry. I'm going to take care of your people later on. But for now, your people, your family's life a little bit, and you're maybe not you guys, but like your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren's life, it's going to be terrible. It's not until like later, things will be better. But I'm not going to tell Moses that I set them up because maybe Moses is going to be like, what do you mean? You want me to help you? You're not so benevolent that you're like, oh, I heard the poor sadness of the people. Oh, you set it up in the first place. You did this. But that's not how it goes. But we know, right? As being people who are able to see the story before, story after. All right. Now, this, I want to share something with you. This is one of my favorite concepts and ideas. Okay? It's one of my favorite concepts and ideas. Right here, look at this. These are the 10 plagues. Blood, frogs, lice, flies, livestock pestilence, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, and the killing of the firstborn, right? When we do this with our pinkies with the wine, make sure when you dip your pinky at your Seder, people, do not lick your finger after dipping it in the wine, because that means that you're on the plagues. You don't want to be sucking on the plagues. That's disgusting. Don't do that. Dry your finger off and then continue. The last plague is, yes, Miriam, go.
I'm sorry, but I just want to share this thought, which fits in right exactly what you're saying with the last plague. At our
Miriam,
Seder,
do not apologize. Do not
I always
apologize.
feel that I should. I always do.
You?
Yes, I do. I am going to do something personal this year, and no one else has to do it, but I feel that it's strong enough for me to share it with you. At our Seder, which my daughter is making, of course, she has for 20 years now, I am going to introduce at this point, as we put our fingers into the wine, we have 11 plagues, not 10. This year, we not only must acknowledge, but we must honor all those over 540,000 people that have died in this plague, in this huge plague, which we call a plague. From the beginning, we have called it a plague. And at our Seder, we will not forget them. We will not let it pass. And we will spend just a few minutes, not taking time away from anything else, just spend a few minutes in silence as we dip our fingers into the 11th plague.
Miriam, that's beautiful. And I don't think it's taking away at all. What is one of the main mitzvot of Passover is for us to imagine as if we were the ones being liberated, as if we were the ones enslaved, as if we were, right? And the way to make it relevant and connect more so in our lives is to be like, look at these things around us, right? We understand, maybe not the way they did, but it gives us a little insight into the feelings of pain and suffering, right? It's like, you know what I did just the other day? I asked like these second graders, like, if you're going to be wandering in the wilderness, you don't know how long you're going. You know, you can only take a certain thing, but let's assume that all your immediate needs were taken care of, your food, your water, your clothing, right? Your shelter, your sunscreen. I said to them, what are you going to take with you? What would you take with you, right? And we were talking about, I'm going to bring these photo albums. I'm going to bring my dog. I'm going to bring my lovies because it makes me feel comfortable. So then I asked them, why do you think I asked you what you would bring? And they say, well, maybe it's somebody asked them the same question. I said, that's exactly right, because we're supposed to put ourselves in their shoes as if, right? So that's beautiful, Miriam. I appreciate that. I think maybe we're going to do the same thing. So thank you for that. Yes, Merle. And then we got something. Keep going. Go, Merle.
I was just going to say, thank you, Miriam, because I went one step further than that when I was putting together the Seder list and the stuff that I can't do till tomorrow. I took an empty, because we have all had our second vaccination, except for the 4 little kids. I took an empty syringe from my insulin and put that on the Seder plate.
Whoa, boy. Okay. That's pretty vivid.
Hey, can I just apologize in case my phone battery dies? It's not, my phone will just die, so I don't mean to leave quickly.
Oh,
my
God
phone gave
forbid.
out.
Okay, we appreciate that, and we appreciate you, Jen. God forbid. Okay, here we go. Check this out. Here are the 10 plagues. Blood, frogs, lice, flies, livestock pestilence, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, and the killing of the firstborn children. There's a big, significant difference. Massive, significant difference, right? This is like real game changer here between the first 9 and the last one. Between the first 9 and the 10th. Major difference. And it's what I believe then sets the stage for any future relationship that we have with God and ourselves as a people. Something that we'll need to lean on wandering in the wilderness. The thing that comes to bite us in the tush while wandering in the wilderness, which makes it so, well, I'm going to give something away, but you all know, only 2 of the million people actually make it into the promised land because they weren't able to get past the hump. Most of them were able to get past this one, but they weren't able to get past the rest. But what is the significant difference between the first 9 plagues and the last plague? Let's take some guesses.
Those are all
Nina, let's hear what you got.
Okay, definitely here a power struggle. He has to show Pharaoh who is the real God, because Pharaoh taught himself to be a God.
Okay.
So he's giving him, he says, Irbeti et ototai ve'et moftai. I'm going to do so many things that he knows that Pharaoh as a man isn't going to be able to do. All his magicians are not going to be able to do. But apparently people need one time may not be enough to convince. But to take away life, and this is something that definitely you can't just move a wand and do it. But if he brought a plague that would kill all of them, he's proving who is the real God is here. As I said before, Pharaoh at the time taught himself to be a God. Mm-hmm. And therefore, there was a power to show who is the real God here. And that would be the last straw.
Okay, so the last one is the real proof.
The son of a God, then Pharaoh, then who is the real God here?
Okay.
Why can't Pharaoh save his own son?
Interesting. Good. What else? Thank you, Pnina. What else? Merle?
These are all things that could definitely kill any of us. Mm-hmm. But were these things meant to kill the firstborn, or was a person or people going to kill the firstborn? And I feel like that's the difference, because are those things going to kill the firstborn, or is Pharaoh or somebody else in charge going to kill the firstborn? So it's things, and those things can also affect the weather, or anything that helps us live. Whereas killing of the firstborn is like, we're going to get rid of people that we don't want around.
Mm-hmm. Good.
But Pharaoh's son himself was the firstborn. So he's killing the son of another God.
Rabbi, may I ask?
That takes already a lot of proof whether or not, if Pharaoh cannot save his own son, then he's not a god.
Okay,
There is a
good.
power.
Thank
Rabbi,
you,
may,
Camille.
may, Rabbi, may
Jonah,
I
go.
I think that out of Pharaoh's own mouth, he had the audacity to say that about the firstborn of the Hebrews, but God gave him exactly what he said.
Okay, good. Thank you. But let's remember what I said. How does that play out with all of the things that you suggested? How does that play out in the future of the Israelite people? Right? This is the connection I'm making. Why was it so significant? Why was it so significant in the future of the Israelite people?
If you kill the
okay.
firstborn, there won't be any more children.
Well, okay.
Or you're
Good.
killing the
The
legacy.
people of the Israelite. It didn't kill the firstborns of the Israelite.
Oh,
Of the Israelites.
okay. Okay. Hold on. All right. Now we're getting somewhere. So there is a midrash. There's like a teaching about this, and you can see where it could come from, where in fact there were many Israelite firstborns who were killed. Why? Why would there be? This is the key. None of the Israelites were affected by the first 9. None of the Israelites were affected by the first 9. But the nature of the last allowed 4 Israelites, firstborn Israelites, to be killed. What is the difference? Here it is.
They put the blood over the post.
Now,
Boom. Yes.
That's
The
it.
Israelite people had a responsibility. They had a job to do. In order to save their firstborn, they had to go and put the blood on their doorpost, right? They had an actual physical task. They had a job. And if they didn't put that blood, God wouldn't know, right? Because it says, and the blood on the houses where you are staying shall be a sign for you. When I see the blood, I will pass over you so that no plague will destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. Which means if you don't put the blood on the doorpost, your firstborn will die. All the other ones, the Israelites are passive observers of the plagues. We could just sit back, let God do what God's going to do. We can just watch what happens. But the last one, we have to engage. We have to be in relationship with God. This is what I'm talking about. This is the beginning of where the Israelites have to take some responsibility for their own redemption. We can't just be passive receivers of the redemptive experience.
They even had to go out and kill a Paschal lamb, didn't they?
Well, they had to do the sacrifice. They had to count it, and then they had to physically take them. They had to eat. They had to eat all these things. They had to do all these things. They had to put the blood on there. They had to actually start doing something. They had to take an active role in their own redemption. Okay? This is the key to the future of the Israelite people and of our future today. This is no different. We can't just sit back and expect it just to happen for us. Any of this, right? We have to take an active role in our own redemption. Right? And it leads right into another story that I'm sure many of you may remember. The story of Nachshon. Does that sound familiar, this name Nachshon? Right? Well, for those of you who may not be totally familiar, right? Yeah, go, Miriam.
I think he was the first one to jump into the waters when they parted, and Israel stood there very much afraid. But Nachshon went.
It was even before they parted, Miriam. Yes, the Midrash goes, right, the whole story. Oh, no, they're coming after us. Moses, do something. And Moses lifts the staff, right? Like Charlton Heston. Oh, lifts the staff and the seas part and everybody goes, right? But the Midrash goes that lifted the staff. Nothing happened. And everybody's like, no, except for this one kid, Nachshon, who gets up. And while everybody's freaking out and arguing and everything like that, he starts walking into the water. And his family's like, Nachshon, where are you going? You get back here right now. You get back. You don't even know how to swim. Get back here. What do you do? We got to figure out what to do. And you're making all the going in the water. He's not paying attention. He just starts walking in the water and comes up to his ankles. Nothing happens. Comes up to his knees. Nothing happens. Come up to his pupik, his belly button. Nothing happens. To his neck. Nothing happens. It's not until the water gets over here. And that's how we get there's the midrash on the midrash of why we say micha mocha ba'elim Adonai and mika mocha nedar bakodesh, when it's really supposed to be the same word with the digduk and everything like that. Say micha mocha, that's the way that you pronounce it. But then when he got to, micha mocha comes from the song of the sea, when the sea splits, and he says mika mocha, he was choking on the water. That's why he says mika mocha, and as soon as he says that, boom, the waters part.
You know
God
what?
was
I
waiting.
kept wondering why was the ha and the ka. Thank you. And
Well,
the
I mean,
beautiful
beautiful.
that's a story about why the cha and the ka, right? But
I love it.
the point being, the waters weren't just going to part. God's like, you got to have some faith. You got to work with me. You got to take some responsibility in your own redemption. You want something to be saved? You got to jump in that water with me. Take the plunge. Take the plunge, Nachshon. And everybody followed as leadership, right? It's the same thing. You want redemption? You got to actually act and go put the blood on the door. No, I'm not. I'm done with just these wonders and wonders. Wonder, miracle of miracles, right? I'm done with these. Now, get involved. And that's what comes to bite them in the tush later on, right? That's why there's like, these people, they're too far gone. They're not going to be able to get involved. Maybe Joshua and Caleb, these guys have a positive outlook and I could work with these two. But the rest of you, you're just going to walk around in the wilderness for a little bit and then wait till you all die out. Then his new crew will go into the promised land. Go,
Rabbi,
Pnina.
may I say something?
Hold on, Donna. Pnina raised
Okay.
her hand, then I'll give you the word. Go,
Okay.
Pnina. You're muted. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, is that okay now? Okay.
Perfect.
There is a lot more thought about the time that they left and how they left than we really actually realize. Passover is being celebrated in the middle of the month. The middle of the month, the moon is full, according to the Jewish calendar. Moses spent a lot of time in the desert and he knew the area very well. When he came back to take his people, there was a lot more planning if we look at the facts of when everything was done. The moon was full, so he's got the light to live. Then when the moon is full, there was a tide, the water recedes. And and actually my teacher, Rabbi Yehuda, may he rest in peace, he did us a diagram that there is a section in the Dead Sea, in the sea, that you actually can cross through. It wasn't right straight in the middle, but there is like an edge leading to the other side that you could actually cross through So there was, I think it was luck or not so much luck, but it was I would say, joint effort, God and Moses
All right, I see where you go. Yeah, it's also beautiful.
Archaeology and the timing shows that it was actually planned when to leave and how to do it.
Beautiful. Thank you. Donna, go.
I was just going to say, Joshua and Caleb, when they drank from the river and they looked up to the heavens, although they were outnumbered, they were without fear and had complete faith because they remembered the miracles that God had done. And this is why God was only let them come into the promised land, because they honored and revered Hashem's mighty hand and remembered and didn't forget.
Yeah.
Well, it was also because of the spies that he let them in.
Yeah, that's right. Because they're like, oh, that place is terrible. Why you let's go back to Egypt. At least there we knew what our life was going to be. You want to take us? You want to take us to this place? There's giants over there. They're going to squash us like bugs.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Thank you,
you know what? I want to say Chag Sameach to everyone. Shabbat Shalom, first of all. Chag Sameach.
Thank you, Rabbi.
if you're so inclined to add that plague, like invited by Miriam. No, Miriam, you did not invite the plague. That's not what I meant. I meant that as shared with us the idea on what we could do.
Created
And
thank you, Miriam.
So
Happy
to be
birthday,
continued,
Rabbi.
everybody.
Chag
Happy
Sameach.
Passover, everyone.
you.
Chag Sameach.
Happy Passover.
Love you, Miriam.
Shabbat
Love you, Rabbi. Love you,
Shalom.
everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Rabbi.
everyone.
Everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Happy
Love
Love
you.
you.
birthday.
Bye. Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Mwah.